quick. I got Dr. Femdizzle with me.
Oh, my baby girl, mama Jack Biscuit. Oh, my baby girl, mama Yahweh. Oh, my baby girl, mama Jack Biscuit. Oh, my Jack Biscuit. Chee. We out here, baby. Quarantine teams.
I got King Mitty with me via LA.
Oh, said tonight'll be a night. Oh, gotta be doing something right.
Boy, yeah. Yeah, I got Yao on the moon with me.
Shout out to Isaiah Thomas, bro. That's all I have to say. Hey.
Y'all, the Africanists, this is Travel Talk. Welcome to another week here with us. Big ups to everybody that tuned in, listened, and appreciated. Politics is bull.
Bullish.
Bullshit.
And I just want to also thank you guys for tuning in, for still tuning in to the Love Your Own People pod and Do You Know What Love Is pod, because those numbers are still going up and we really appreciate y'all support.
Man,
and they will continue to go up.
Man, y'all Bammers don't know what love is, man.
Yeah, I think we admitted that on the pod.
Yeah, we said that many times.
I'll continue to say it.
With that being said, we have two guests here with us today to discuss
some teams.
The last beating and the last dance.
Trending topics.
The last beating and the last dance. That's what we about to discuss today.
The last beating. Funny.
And y'all get the reference for the last beating. But I got Brother Charisma here with us today. Go ahead, brother. Talk to the people of the podcast world.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Prince Charisma, aka.
Man, put on the sexy voice.
I know.
Hey, you know I gotta do the thing, man.
Can my man land? Can he land? Can he land his or not?
I didn't know if I was supposed to sing to the introduction, but I'll just go with that.
Hey, sing an R&B song, man. You the R&B legend, bro.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bro. Yeah. You gotta give the people something, man. Come on, bro.
A little something. All right. Can we talk for a minute, baby girl?
He had his own ad-libs.
Your name.
Give them. Show them.
I got you with the support vocals, bro. Just for being bold like that. You know what I mean? I gotta support you.
All right. I love it.
We got a avid supporter of our platform from Genesis. We have our brother Kojo in the building with us today. I wouldn't go his accolades, but that ain't none of your business. Y'all need a certain level of clearance.
Brother African sci-fi.
They gonna have the Wikipedia.
Yeah, you need a certain level of clearance to understand. You know what I'm saying? The doors that he has access to. You know what I'm saying? We're just lucky enough to be sucking in the same air as him. You feel me? That's the guy.
I appreciate the kind words. I go ahead and say I stand on the shoulders of giants. So I'm just doing my thing.
Giants.
I appreciate that. As far as a song I was thinking Sweet Mother. Sweet mother, I'm gonna forget you. Whatever you so far from me. Yeah.
When I was young, my mother.
Listen, so I mean, I might as well just say this is definitely my older brother right here. So when he starts pulling receipts, you know what I'm saying, or tell me to shut up. You guys know.
I can't wait for the second topic then.
Hello.
I want to give the insight on that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
LL Cool Joe, please.
That has definitely gone down in the house.
This is the time to bust this guy's bubble. Expose him. Bring up his genesis. We don't care about his revelation. Bring up the beginning. Thank you.
I hear you. But y'all was transparent anyway, so I'm sure you said everything that I could have said. But we'll see.
I am shameless.
Yao is not transparent.
Is that transparent?
My brother.
All right, so before we get started with anything, Charisma or Kojo, how would y'all like? Which one of y'all would like to go first and describe, how this quarantine and self-isolation and all of that, how it's been treating the past 6, 7, 8 weeks or something? I don't know. I've lost count at this point.
I guess I'll go. For me, it's been niggas been clinically depressed, low key, because so last summer was supposed to be City Boy Summer. Now it was supposed to be City Men Summer this summer, and that was even canceled. And then I like to hoop a lot, and I can't hoop. There's no ball is life. So if you're not hooping, what kind of life are we living? But except for that, just doing what everybody else is doing, like watching all Netflix, Hulu, whatever account you got. And then I'm even putting African movies on YouTube. That's when you've hit it. We gotta go.
I've been doing that too. I've been watching some old movies too. So I feel
How you hit rock bottom, bro? That's rock bottom right there, bro.
Yeah, bro. I take off the subtitles for the Yoruba movies.
Been watching Mr. Ibu.
Yeah, but that's it pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's been good actually. I'm an introvert anyway, so I'm sort of in my element regardless. You know what I'm saying? And as far as business, we've been remote anyway, so it was an easy pivot. Well, actually, there was no pivot. We just continued as we were doing. So it's been good. I'll say one changes though is just having to wipe down all the food and groceries you get. That's kind of annoying, and like wearing a mask and all that. So yeah, it is.
Have you learned to cook anything new during this time? Your brother has told us that he learned how to cook, make curry shrimp or something like that.
Yeah, man. If pictures can tell, this stuff looking good. I don't know how good it tastes, but what I'm saying, it looks delicious.
I've been going at it. I've been going at it in the kitchen, bro.
Yeah. But no, I've been a master of the microwave, man.
I can't fault you.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I've been chefing it up.
Thank you.
In the microwave too?
Nah, I've been chefing it.
All right.
We talking Chef Chef Eric Achapong chefing.
Oh my God.
I'm making breakfast. I'm making brunchini. I'm making dinner. I'm doing
brunchini.
Yeah, brunchini, man. I be off my mimosas too, man.
March. We went IG Live.
I know, bro.
I sat there and said I'm picking up cooking and stuff.
Bro.
It's quarantine. This man Femi went on camera.
So you like,
be who you are. If you wasn't cooking before the Rona, don't start cooking after the Rona.
I wasn't expecting it to last this long, man.
Hypocrites.
Nah, but I would like to y'all, man. I actually like cooking now, man. It's strange.
Yeah. I enjoy it's because it's like I'm sitting down all day or laying on my bed. So it's okay to kind of stand up in front of something and like problem solve and figure something out and like experiment. It's almost like this ain't gonna make the food sound good, but it's almost like science in a way. You know what I mean? Transfer of heat.
It's crazy. I seen D Wade and CP3, Chris Paul, go live, and he said one thing that he's done for the first time due to this quarantine is he's learned how to wash clothes.
Ooh, he never learned how to do laundry?
CP3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's the last born, so even all throughout his childhood and even when he went to Wake Forest, because his mom used to always do his laundry, and the little time his mom couldn't do it, his grandmother, and then he lucked up. He said he got married, so his wife was doing it. But now during quarantine, he finally learned how to he finally
I
watched.
don't know why that's so
yo.
shocking to me. Like, it's so weird to me that people don't know. Like, some people be like, I don't know how to wash dishes. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to do laundry. It's so weird to me because it's so rare to hear that.
It's foolish.
It's not like they're going back into the backyard and grabbing soap and bucket and
Thank you.
squeezing hands together.
You know what I mean?
They're not doing that one. You're just throwing it in the machine.
Embarrassing, bro.
Rich people problems.
I went. So like the other day, I went jogging, and like normally I would just go to the soccer field and stuff like that. But this time I went to like the shopping center near where I live, and it was like a serious wake up call. Cause, well, first of all, you know, when you're going out, like I put on my mask and all that, you really have to keep your head on a swivel, man, because you never know when you run around, like you might just turn somebody right there, no mask on, and it's like, bruh, you know, like whatever. So that whole like heightened alert is just makes it really nerve wracking. But on top of that, when I was running through was just walking briskly through like the shops and stores, every store had a notice on the front, and a few of them had a notice on the front saying that, you know, we safety first, all that, whatever. We made a decision to shut down, and we're gonna reopen as of, it said something like March 30th or something like that. And I was like, damn, dog.
And we almost at April 30th.
Bruh.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just upset the curry out is closed because I'm a big fan of Chinese food, and all the curry house is closed, bro.
Hey, bro, I slandered them on this pod, bro. So I think I already
can't eat curry out no more.
Nah,
a lot of them ain't reopening, Benga. I got news for you, bro. Sales is going down.
What you mean they ain't reopen? They was supposed to reopen by 5 by 4. You have to do something in prayer. We'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I will be countering that prayer with my own prayer.
Wow.
All right, gentlemen, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. So, as many of you know, they moved up the Michael Jordan documentary from June to April. Started, I believe, April 19th, last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a documentary junkie, as a lot of you guys know. I've said this on the pod many a times. I love watching documentaries. The one I haven't watched till this day is Surviving R. Kelly. Don't plan to watch it. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about The Last Dance. All right?
You said why? Why are you over there to watch it?
I'm just not going to put that in my spirit.
It's too graphic for you, bro?
I just don't really... I stopped playing this music at weddings for like years now, so I just I'm not really.
You're just cleansing yourself of that.
It is what it is. So The Last Dance essentially.
Some Kelly songs I listen to.
You said what?
But that's it.
Go ahead, say, open your mouth and make an ass of yourself.
There are still some R. Kelly songs that I listen to. Yes. One of my favorite songs is by Nas featuring R. Kelly. I'm not gonna back down from that.
Hey man, the views of King Mitty does not
represent the views of the Afrikaners at all.
I never said whatever, man.
We're talking about The Last Dance here, yes? So The Last Dance is supposed to be a 10-part documentary series detailing the final run at the championship. I believe it was 97-98 season, or was it 98?
The 98 season.
97-98.
97-98. Okay.
99 was lockout.
Right, cool.
99 was lockout.
Yeah, 99 was lockout. Good. All right. Now that the groundwork has been laid, we are 4 episodes deep so far into this series. For everyone who doesn't know, I'm sure you do. Y'all hates Michael Jordan. That's not a mixing of words or
it's absolute truth.
Or a exercise. I'm just telling you how it is. He hates Michael Jordan.
I'm comfortable in my skin. That's the most beautiful part about it. You understand that?
And one of the reasons why, which is one of the main reasons why I want to talk about the doc today, one of the main reasons why he hates Michael Jordan is because there was a player who pretty much stifled Jordan's run and chances at the playoffs 2 years in a row. If that's an accurate statement, yes.
It was 3 years in a row? Right?
Was it 3?
Yeah.
2. No, 2 because the Pistons only won 2 ships. They didn't win 3.
They went to the title 3 times in a row.
Okay. They lost the first one to the Lakers.
Okay. Right,
Lake
cool.
Show, baby.
All right, cool. So 3
You
times.
should have had that 3-peat.
So 3 times they stifled Michael Jordan's chances at a ring. Likes of Isaiah Thomas was on there, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, just to name a few people. So
A quick point of correction, my brother.
yes,
Hey.
please.
It was actually Larry Bird and the Celtics that stopped him at first, and then Detroit the next 2 seasons. So Isaiah stopped him twice, and Larry Bird and them stopped him once.
Yeah.
They beat them head to head, yes.
God bless you. Thank you, LL Cool Joe. So, long story less long, right? So for many of those who do not know, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, till this very day, have beef. They despise each other like Yao hates Jordan. Okay. Now the reason for the hatred was kind of introduced in episode 4 towards the end of the documentary. I say maybe in the last 20 minutes or so. So if y'all, after you hear this part, you want to see it for yourself, it's there. So essentially, the 2 years that the Pistons beat the Bulls, from Jordan's perspective, was that even though they were bullying him, beating him up, gave Scotty a migraine, all of that, he did good sportsmanship by shaking their hand at the end of every loss or match, whatever the case may be, whether it was game 6 or game 5 or game 7, whatever the case may be, right? Now, when the Pistons finally lost after Jordan, when put on muscle, Scotty put on muscle, yada, yada, yada. When they lost, with time still on the clock, the Pistons bench cleared and went to the
Locker
room. Now, from Isaiah's standpoint, from Jordan's standpoint first, he took that as disrespect, right? From Isaiah's standpoint, he said that when they finally beat the Celtics were leaving to go to the locker room. Isaiah himself stopped, I forgot the coach's name.
Kevin McHale.
And shook his hand. But he said it was customary at that time to just walk off the court and not say anything. So essentially the beef is over sportsmanship, quote unquote.
That's part of it.
At least from how they depicted in the documentary. How do those who have watched it, because Yao has already admitted he hasn't watched it.
I'm not going to watch it. In 2021, I'll watch it. 2020. I'm good.
I like to let the guests land because this is a beautiful. I'll let y'all have it, man. What's up?
So for me, like, I understand both parts, but at the same time, I'm more on Isaiah's side because from hooping, some people really take it seriously. Like in between those lines or whatever, there are no friends, whatever. Like, and I just feel like I don't like the way that Michael villainizes Isaiah. It just goes to show you when you're in a position of power. You know what I'm like?
Oh,
as I said it, MJ or whatever, and he just felt like they didn't give them no flack for it. Larry Bird didn't get villainized or anything like that. And from MJ's side, I understand it. He felt disrespected or whatever. But I really think what it is was MJ, like, he wanted this prop for, like, getting to the weight room and taking all that beating or whatever and, like, climbing the next level or whatever. So that's just my take on it.
Okay.
You broke out for a quick second, but it sounded like you were saying something very pointed about when you have power, something about like your opinion or something like that. Can you repeat that? Because
when you have power, you control the narrative.
I love this guy.
Being that it's his documentary and he's regarded as the GOAT. He's not my GOAT, just putting that out there. But he's regarded as the GOAT.
Who your GOAT?
We're gonna leave that out. I'm not gonna,
Is he about to say? Is he about?
Y'all know he's not my GOAT either. So, but LL Cool Joe, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. I'm similar to what he just mentioned. I'm on both sides of it because it's the story of what happened is a lot deeper than what they showed. Like
exactly
when Jordan first got on the All-Star team, they say Isaiah Thomas was the one who told him don't pass him the ball, so they shut him out. But also, they said before the game for years, Jordan would talk trash about the Detroit Pistons that did not go for basketball. And also, the Bulls swept them. So, it's like, it's like either way. I have from a competitive standpoint, I have a nasty side. So I understand why I would probably walk off too, like, F y'all, like it is what it is. But on the other side, I understand sportsmanship. So, I get a shaking your hand, but I don't think it's a big deal not to shake their hand. But they just don't see eye to eye, and I think it's great. I like my competitors not to like each other. Give me all, which is probably why I'm a fan of boxing too, because you're trying to hurt each other. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kojo in that sense that we can't just box it and say, oh, it's just all about the handshake fiasco. It was deeper than that. Like he brought up the Jordan feeling like they froze him out in the game. You know what I'm saying? They like, yo, don't pass him the ball because, this nigga want to score 50 and this ain't how we do it. Because, like Isaiah always say, and this Isaiah that he and Magic used to kiss before the games. You know what I'm saying? Isaiah would go watch Lakers Celtics and go watch their games. Like, but then Jordan comes in and he's like this solo act, you know what I'm saying? So it starts from that, and then the Bad Boys had their reign. Like they said, they weren't a team that was embraced by just by the league. They weren't embraced. They always got the negative narrative, and then they always felt like the league wanted to propel MJ anyway, because people were saying, like when Bird say, it's like Jesus and sneakers, people are already saying he's the best, even though he hadn't won. So the Pistons already had that chip, and then MJ and them felt like the Pistons were a dirty team. They were fouling, they will do certain things that they were like, yo, this is like this has nothing to do with basketball, but the game was physical back then, so the refs would let it go. So when they finally won, I think they was up 3-0, MJ did a presser where he was like, the Pistons were bad for basketball. They're bad champions. They weren't good like representatives for basketball. So this was before the game where they actually got swept. So MJ had said this already before that game. So it was during that game they took their L and they decided to walk off. I mean, for me, it's when I win, I don't care what my opponent does. You get what I'm saying? So if you walk off, you walk off. It's all about me eating a W. So like I wouldn't even focus on Isaiah or Dumars or whoever. Like it's about me and my team. But I mean MJ a different cat, like he said, when he took L's, he did show that sportsmanship. So I mean I can't tell another human how to like feel or deal with it. So I think all of them are warranted to feel how they feel, and it is what it is.
Maybe you want to go?
I forgot the point I was gonna make. Femi kind of went on a rant.
He took the wind out of the ball.
I mean, when you're a student of the game, you gotta do it justice, bro. I
feel you, Femi, but you got listen. We trying to be the Spurs out here. We trying to throw the rock around. You taking the wind out of the ball, bro.
We never do sports topics, baby. You
didn't swing it to Benga or Mindy.
I don't give a damn, nigga. I'm Kobe.
The ball stops at you, Abi.
You damn right.
Well, then I'll go ahead and drop my 2 cents. So, to be honest, this actually kind of ties into the second question I was going to ask you guys after Yao and Mitty went. But based off of how the documentary was shot, right? So far, I feel like a lot of the stuff that they discussed could have been consolidated. So, like the whole Isaiah and Jordan dynamic should have been highlighted throughout, because I do believe, like everybody said, it was bigger than just the non-sportsmanship like thing for those 3 years, essentially. It had to be more than that, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure there's other days where, I mean, even now, Kawhi Leonard and a few of them, like before the buzzer goes off and they lost, some of them already left. They're not buddy all the time. So I do believe there was more than that. That just. You said what?
Remember LeBron walked off?
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah. So definitely, but I do believe though that Jordan and the whole that whole dynamic of everything that was happening, I think in a lot of ways, even still, it kind of like propels his image. You know what I'm saying? Because he was successful in a solo role, but had a lot of losses with it. You know what I'm saying? Dropping 63 at Boston and still losing. I think they lost by like 5 or something. It was some number, I don't remember. But like he did a lot as a solo act that captivated a lot of people. Even me, like when I'm watching it back, I'm still surprised at half the stuff he was doing. I'm just like, Lord, he was definitely a man amongst boys.
It don't surprise me. It don't impress me.
And the thing is, half the stuff that he was doing, like those records coming back from that foot injury, all of that, you know what I'm saying? He was still relatively quote unquote young. I think he was between.
That was his second year when he.
Yeah, so like maybe like 20 between 23 and 25, give or take. What?
23.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things impressive that he did as a solo act, but one thing I do appreciate about the documentary so far, outside of the Isaiah conversation, is how they highlighted the necessity of Pippen in Jordan's career. Because if you let any sports correspondent, specifically Skip Bayless, tell it, Pippen was nothing.
I mean, that you don't listen to Skip though. Skip
I don't, but I'm just appreciating how they highlighted the necessity of Pippen, because when you really watch the game and when you really hear Jordan speak, he's saying, I would have been nothing without Pippen, essentially. Yeah. So I want to give Jordan kudos for that.
Because you realize the documentary really isn't about Jordan; it's about the team. Like they have episodes dedicated to each one, in the different places. So
100%. Even the Rodman episode, as wild as it was, you know what I'm saying? I don't think as a podcast member, if we were to have a live, y'all told me that y'all going to Vegas. We were about to do a live show, and y'all told me y'all going to Vegas for 48 hours. And I know y'all, there ain't no way y'all coming back in 48 hours. I know that for a fact.
I think we come back in 48 hours. I think we come back.
I mean, Bama's have taken PTO.
Hey, look at
it. I mean, of course, but we talking about a live show. I ain't about to be like, yo, okay, go on vacation before we have a live show in like 2 days. Hell no. No way.
Look at the nonsense we did in Philly in one day. And come on, we can do it.
Hey, that is true.
But I will say
the headache I had for that.
Yeah, that was wild, man. But on the topic of the Pistons being that tough bully team or whatever, one point that Isaiah Thomas was making, I think on First Take or Get Up, was that if you look at the Bulls' style of play. Oh, am I not yet?
You back now.
Oh, okay. What he was saying is essentially like if you look at the Bulls' style of play, he was saying on the second go round for the three-peat, they adopted a lot of the Pistons' ways of being that very physical, big, heavyweight team. They had a bunch of Pistons players that they took on, and they transformed their identity. Because I'll tell you something. At that era of the NBA, that 80s, 90s, a lot of players weren't physically, like, big like that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of players, like, people would name defensive stoppers. Go and look them up. They were like 195 pounds, 6'5". That's crazy, right? But the Pistons were different. They had really big, husky dudes. They had the Rodmans, the Sallies, you know what I mean, the Lambeers, they could just throw these heavyweights at you. Like that was just not a play. And that was a smart way to play. I mean, even if you look at other sports, even look at soccer, there's always certain teams and franchises that adopt, rather than just going skill, let's go with this physical approach to the game. And that's what the Pistons did. You know what I mean? But he countered and said, not only we weren't dirty, we played physical. That's what we did. We had big, brawly players that could guard on the wing, guard on the perimeter. Look what Steve Kerr said. He said Dennis Rodman was the greatest defender he played with on the team with Jordan and Pippen, which is crazy. But he said that because if he was in today's game, he would guard wings, guards, centers, all that. He was like 6'7", 6'8". He was wild. You know what I mean?
And smallish. Like he maintained his frame for the most
exactly. So he was agile, right? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, so that's one thing. Like, people they trump up how dirty the team was, but I mean, you know, like that was their style of play. They want to play physical. But if you look at that sustainable winning and stuff like that, that's something that the Bulls like took in and stuff like that too. So.
And to your point, before Minnie goes, in the beginning of the documentary, in like the very first one, they stated how they don't know how Jordan's game would translate into that NBA because it was bigger. Everybody was taller, you know, like you said, more physical. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a 3-5 game as compared to a 1-2 game. You know what I'm saying? Shooting guards and point guards are just supposed to, you know, be a John Stockton's, facilitate, take your freebie jumper here and there. You know what I'm saying? But most of the groundwork was done inside and at the perimeter. Sure.
Yeah, the best teams were physical. I mean, look at the Knicks. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And that's what he said. He was like, look at the Bulls. He said, you want to talk about dirty players? Look at the Bulls. They had Charles Oakley. They had Bill Wennington. They had all those players that were jamming in the paint. That was what the game was back then, but they try to holler at us. It was a formula for winning. Have big players that could switch defensively, and you could throw at scores. I mean, that's what it was. So,
Mitty, good?
Yeah, I think my takeaway from the documentary is how the media portrayed Jordan early on in his career is similar to how they portrayed LeBron. Like, oh, he can't get it done. He's, you know, this, he can't do that. Like, he's good, but you got to stop him by himself. You stop Jordan, everybody else ain't going to do nothing. So, to me, the similarities there in the tactics that I see is like, all right, they still doing the same thing. They still painting that same narrative to build LeBron up or like tear him down. So that's all I take from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else to contribute?
About the doc in general, or
I mean, within the you haven't seen the doc, so
yeah. I mean, I think the Scottie Pippen episode was probably my favorite. You know, and like you said, I mean, real individuals know that Scottie is definitely extremely important, you know. But the thing we have to realize is, you know, for the most part, like MJ played 13 years with the Bulls, including the injury second season, as well as the season that he came back where they lost to the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
You know, that the media don't really like to shed light on. So I'm going to do that for brother Yao, you know.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
But yeah, that season he only played like 17 games after the All-Star game break. But I feel like, you know, with someone like, let's say, like LeBron or even someone like Kobe, where for a part of Kobe's career, he had like Shaq. A part of his other half, he had like Pau Gasol. Those were
and
like
they discredit Kobe because of that, though.
Exactly. But for like with Jordan, he had Pippen for his entire run. So yeah, we can say, you know, he definitely needed Pippen, and of course he does, because Pippen does so much stuff other than scoring that leads to winning. So
has there been a player that dominated the team or the league and scored by himself and got a ring by himself, like single-handedly, like you knew he was the one person?
Stop it.
Like I'm thinking Wilt, but
you want to know who?
Wilt Chamberlain, really.
Nope.
Wilt wasn't winning rings though. He was dominating.
You know who it was?
You about to say Isaiah Thomas?
And was the only All-Star on his team.
Joe Dumars.
Joe Dumars was not an All-Star at that point in time. He was young.
He got to be.
Look it up.
Let me.
Isaiah Thomas is the only individual All-Star that won the ring. Look it up.
Dirk Nowitzki. When he won his only ring, I know he was the only All-Star. Okay, yeah.
But on the other side of that though, Dennis Rodman won Defensive Player of the Year that year, didn't he?
Exactly. Rodman won multiple Defensive Players of the Year. Yeah, but Dumars was an All-Star both years. In '89, he was an All-Star in '89.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
No, the second year he was an All-Star, not the first.
Would you say Hakeem then?
Yes, Hakeem. It was the first year. It was the first year, bro. And Dumars, they didn't have another All-Star that year.
Yeah, I'll say Hakeem, especially their first chip.
Before Clyde got there.
Yeah, second chip he had Clyde, but it was an older Clyde.
But he had Big Shot Bob, right?
Shit.
I'm playing, right?
Oh, man. Hakeem was such a beast, yo. That man won with, like, Kenny the Jet and a rookie, Sam Cassell, and Robert Horry was a main player on that team.
So I have a question to y'all. Is it not embarrassing for Jordan at his size and stature to be rivaling with 6'1" Isaiah Thomas? Anyway, all right, quick, take it away, dog.
Stop it.
Just take it away. Take it away, dog.
But I guess to put a button on the Jordan doc. I do want to say that the way it's shot is a little bit weird to me. It makes sense, but the way it's shot is a tad bit weird. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm really interested in seeing how this last dance plays out. I am a little bit confused as to why they haven't like really like delved in onto the Jerry Krause thing and like his whole like him as an individual has a lot of explaining to do. I mean, I know he passed away.
Yeah, he did. So they probably might have if he didn't die.
I mean, look at people like Dolan. Like these dudes don't care, son.
Because to be honest, at that time, the NBA was technically still old. So I'm trying to figure out why he was in a hurry to like rebuild. You know,
well, you got to realize some people are just too smart and for their own good.
Exactly.
So he was like looking into the future, like, yo, I'll rather rebuild and start fresh, other than let these Bammers get old and then like I get nothing for these. You know what I'm saying? So that was his mindset, and he did get young, and they got hella young. They just that they was picking. He picked like Elton Brand and Ron Artest, but like with Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry, he messed up, but it just didn't work out. But I mean, if it would have worked out, let's say if he would have got a player like LeBron or something, he would have looked like a genius. You know what I'm saying? But it just didn't work out for him.
That's fair.
Matter of fact, they had Jay Williams, but he got in a car accident, the motorcycle accident.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was a string of unluck, but I think the string of unluck had to do with, like you said, being smarter than or doing the most, because they could have finessed maybe another year,
of course,
or two. Like before the 2000s, they could have maybe even ran at a 7th chip. To be honest,
they weren't going to be Shaq and
Kobe. Thank you. So the same way they got washed by the Magic. So I'm gonna say just something real quick. All right, I just want to throw a few things out there. I just want to say that me not liking Jordan is not even a man. I don't like the Jordan myth. I don't like ideas of like absolute.
You don't even like the sneakers.
I mean, I have a couple Jordan sneakers, but I'm not big into it. You're right. The Yeezy jumped over the jump man. That was a lyric I loved back then or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's a funny guy himself. But like it's not him. It's the idea that like you have this thing beyond reproach. Like nobody or nothing is perfect. And the thing was like I know, and my brother can vouch for this. I actually watched him thoroughly a lot. You know what I mean? Like. And we used to go there. I remember when we first got the internet installed in our house. Brother can vouch. We used to be on NBA.com every day, reading the stats, every game stats. Am I lying? This was like 1994, 95. We got NBA
Y'all
Live
had internet.
95.
Y'all had internet back in '94.
We would study the stats just for fun.
No, I'm saying we used to Skype.
Wait, y'all not doing brush that. Niggas had internet back in '94.
Yeah, some rich.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
internet.
So just backstory.
Internet $2 American
They probably had the free 30-day AOL download.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
Y'all probably had a second phone line too, huh?
Our dad, we did, but our dad was definitely a tech nerd, so he bought that, and we had to do MS-DOS, all that stuff like that, whatever. But the point was that we had the internet like 1995, and we used to go there, download the stats every day. They bought us the computer game and all that, NBA Live, NBA Jam, all that. Like I used to really watch and study, and I made the deliberate choice back then to be a Supersonics fan. It's not Jordan himself. He's great, and I always think he's great. But I think that idea beyond reproach. I think that when you're running across an idea that's strong and firm, it requires additional investigation. Why does everyone feel that way? And from my investigation of talking to a lot of people, what I found is that nostalgia, sneakers in that age when we were in high school and we were all under social pressure, people making fun of us. You put the sneaker on, you climb in the social ladder, right?
If I can be like Mike.
The facts, Space Jam, ESPN,
So
cover,
it's all
you know what I
marketing.
mean? That whole like braggadocious scoring. I feel like there's other stuff outside of just basketball that make people lift him up. That's all what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with Jordan. I think he's one of the greatest. I might call him the greatest scorer ever, except Kareem. I might say that, but him being the best player ever, I think requires additional investigation. You know what I mean? So people say Jerry Rice is the best receiver ever. He has the numbers. You know,
He got the numbers. He got the rings.
He got the rings. You know
And he got the numbers like a mug.
Yeah. Like even I said Muhammad Ali, and my brother threw stats at me, and I was like, bam. So why do you understand what I'm saying? Like, not to say that he's not the best, but it just requires more investigation. So
can I ask this?
Can I share my opinion real quick on that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I was similar to y'all where we grew up, we rooted against him because we were like, man, why is everybody sweating this guy? And we watched him and like talk about when the loss to the Seattle Supersonics. For me personally, when my mind changed is when I took my own journey in my career and I see what it takes to be great. So
Speak on it, bro.
So being what I saw to be great and what it takes over here, I have to say, you know what? This guy is the GOAT from what I've seen and what I've observed. Now, of course, people can bring alternative stats, but to me, none of those stats, like, you can either bring someone to be beside him, but none of the stats say that he's, like, he completely doesn't qualify, you know, when I look at it. But for me, like, when I see what it takes to be great, and the way he executed, I can't, it's like Michael Jackson. He may not have made the best songs, but, hey, I mean, you see how people fainting at his concerts. I mean, shoot, you know?
To this day, I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how that's possible to this day.
Can you tell us about that journey or the mindset of being great?
From the standpoint of nobody's done what he did at the time, and also too, all he has is naysayers around him, right? No one there was encouraging him, even from Isaiah Thomas' standpoint, like you know, I'm going head to head against you, everybody. So what is that intestinal fortitude to be able to stay focused for so many years, come back, and then do another 3-peat against other great players, like that's an unworldly type stuff. You know what I mean? So when your mindset is that at that kind of point, you're an oddity. You know, you're like an alien in a sense. So yeah, for me, I gotta respect that. Like, hey man, I see how hard it is for me to get to a certain plateau, and I'm just a student. So how much more this guy that's captivated the world? You know what I mean? So hey.
Yeah, Wizzy, did that explanation, have any effect on you whatsoever?
Everyone has a journey. I mean, I totally respect that. But I mean, I think that we can choose who to relate with in that way for other reasons. For me, I look at Isaiah Thomas and I'm like, wow, they had such an impact in a lowly city to the fact that they created the Fab Five out of that. They came in that shadow of our culture and everything like that. I look at Isaiah Thomas, he's really he's an athlete, but he's really a professor.
He got master's education
and all that.
Yeah.
He teaches. Yeah. So for me, I mean, that's something that I relate to more. Him being an underdog, him being 6'0" and leading a team like that. Him being like that scoring point guard who is still a natural playmaker. Like I've never, like if you really look at it, that template of a point guard doesn't really exist. You've never seen it before and you haven't seen it since. You know what I mean? And the stuff he had to overcome fighting against Steph is a scorer. Steph is not a playmaker like Isaiah Thomas.
He makes some plays.
Steph is not half of the playmaker. Bro, Steph is not, trust me, to be on a team without natural scores and stuff like that, Steph is not half the playmaker. I mean, titles at Indiana, all that. He got blackballed. He still fought through it. To this day, people don't even put him in the top list. And he still fights through it. And he shows up and he comports himself respectably. For me, I relate to that. You know what I mean? But everybody has their own thing. But for me, that's what I personally relate to. Because I see him more as that underdog. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, one last point, real quick. I promise.
I love it, man. I love it. Let's go.
So one other thing is people will say, Jordan had more marketing behind him, right? I also give him credit for that because he made marketing decisions. I think they said he went to either Puma or Adidas, and they were like, "Well, you're going to name a line." Like, no, you're going to get a couple of things. You're not going to get your own subsidiary. He's like, "No, I have to have my own brand." You know what I mean? So for me, I also give him credit for all those things after one. Now, on the other side, off the court, he's not the GOAT. I think LeBron is a bigger impact to the community than Jordan. Like, actually, I think he owes black people for it. Not using his platform to affect their change.
Jordan did say, "Fuck them kids."
That's a meme, bro.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
Like, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah, that's what he said.
You know what I mean? So for that, I haven't forgotten that part. But when it comes to playing and his marketing, which I get, it's blown out of proportion. But hey, I mean, he gave them the material to work with. You know what I mean? So
that's fair.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I did that point more than Nike than Jordan though. But I see what you're saying.
Charisma.
For me, like, I'm with y'all. Like, people make like MJ is beyond reproach. Like niggas wasn't busting his ass too. Like Larry Bird wasn't busting his ass. Magic wasn't busting his ass. Like, they make it seem like he never got his ass busted. He was always the one busting his ass or whatever. And if we're gonna let's just go off this stat of like championships. If we're going even off championship, he's not the GOAT. I'd give it to Kareem before I give it to him, honestly. He made mistakes too. Like, even on a social political side or whatever, like, he wasn't involved in like the plight of the black man.
Good point.
That was all Kareem, So for me, it's just like, yo, this guy, I'm not taking away from his greatness because he was a hooper, and he did a lot. But then also his athleticism. When people say he was man amongst boys, there are people now that are like that. Like, as far as athleticism goes,
Kobe.
I think he was before his time. He was before his time when it comes to athleticism and the things he was doing. And if you look at some of his highlights, he did some unnecessary stuff, like when he came to scoring. Like, he'll jump in the air, everybody will move. He can easily have a dunk, and he want to do all this extra layup package, jelly fam, all that.
Hey, jelly fam, baby.
For me,
don't hate the spice. You gotta put spice on it sometimes. Pepper jam.
Well, don't over spice.
The food will get too hot. High blood pressure.
Why you put too much salt in food?
I think also that, like, again, like, Jordan himself, when you look at some of the stuff, he has appeared to be even more humble than those that are riding for him. Like you said, like the Skip Baylesses and stuff, who is admittedly biased when he talks about Jordan. But I'm just saying, like, Isaiah Thomas, like, literally all his rivals, he physically had to look up to them. You know what I mean? And he still went up and took that challenge on. He retired age 31, 32. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, that's wild. He won the championships in college. Like, he was always that guy. You know what I mean? For me. So I think everybody has what they look up. Look at Kareem. To Prince Charisma's point, they sweep Kareem under the rug because of the off-the-court stuff. He was so, like, conscious to talking about the community and being uplifted and all that. They gave him the opposite marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was like, no, roll it out. And if you really look at it, even look at someone like Shaq, who's physically dominant at that size. You don't get players like Kareem that maintain at that size. If you break down fast, that maintain that dominance of scoring for that time frame, 6 rings, multiple, man.
When you talk about marketing for like Kareem and them older players, I still think you got to look at the time it was too. Like, it wasn't that easy for black people back then. Like,
That's
so
true. That's true.
You got to take that into account. Like, they weren't really ready to give them niggas that much money and all that stuff like that just to talk about shoes. So Jordan came at the right time for that.
So let me ask y'all this: who's y'all GOAT? Well, who's your top 3, top 5? All y'all.
Oh, favorite. I'm gonna just say favorite player. Uncle Hakeem.
Not favorite. who the best?
Hakeem.
Uncle Hakeem.
Hakeem. Like DJ Earthquake. Who your top 5, bro?
I'm with Yao in his early sentiments, where it's like, for me, I think you can only rank the best per era.
That's it.
Because that's the fairest way to handle it, because I can't magically put LeBron in the 80s and 70s or mid-90s. I can't do that.
Shitting on a milkman and plumbers.
All right, name the best in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s.
Jesus, bro, that's too much work.
I mean, y'all said eras.
You don't want us to sleep tonight.
Yeah, man.
The Pentagon came out and said there's UFOs, dog. We have other things to talk about.
That video. That video had me up last night. I was like, what is this? That thing was flying around opposite the wind?
Yeah. You know how I feel about them.
It was 3 videos, dog.
Like the wind is this much knots to this way, and the joint was going opposite. I was like,
They had one video where the dude was trying to track the object, and this shit was just going fast. He was like, damn.
Hey, this the last dance pod, baby. We ain't on that. We ain't on that UFO. Go do that after you get off here, man.
You realize what's going on in the world?
What's going on?
I don't care.
Not now. Wait till next year. Quarantine is over.
When I meet my maker, I will meet my maker. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to pause that one and pause our break.
Man,
the question was, who's your GOAT, right?
Yeah, LL Cool Joe, man.
Craig says by eras also. I say, but just leave it to the eras, bro.
Yeah, man.
It was the GOAT in this era.
LL Cool Joe.
Wait, so for me, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. The reason is because he won a Defensive Player of the Year in the 80s and 2 MVPs in the 80s. He won 6 championships in the 90s. And he's won 10 straight scoring titles, which the second closest is Will Chamberlain with 7. So for me, that's right there.
Okay.
Going by the numbers, I respect it. I respect it. I can't knock it.
Okay.
But he's not the highest scorer of all time, though, if you're going to say about scoring titles. But it's okay. It's cool.
Average he is, but yeah, not the most points. You're the only one to average 30 a game in the history of the league.
Thank you for this.
That's beautiful. But greatness is
it's okay.
Greatness is the height multiplied by your time frame. You're saying that the average argument in the sense that the person that has the most points is an easy task. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
so 80s,
that's a harder task, bro.
80s is Magic. 90s is MJ. The 2000s is Kobe Bean. The 2010 is King James.
That's fair. I can eat that.
And I think that we should respect the whole amount of that Rushmore. And you break it up more too. 80s was Dr. J to Bird, Magic, Isaiah, Jordan. For me, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Kareem, Dr. J, Kareem, Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. And then we could see if there would be some KD or something in that. I don't know.
So which one of the milkmen y'all had back in the 60s?
LL Cool Joe screen sharing, baby. I love it.
Okay, what are we looking at?
Michael Jordan stats, I guess.
This the WikiLeaks on MJ.
Hey, the funniest thing about the documentary is when they told Jordan to go to Vegas to go get Dennis Rodman.
So you felt like they picked the wrong person to go get Rodman.
Right. Jordan got a gambling problem too.
They should have picked Steve Kerr, huh? Rodman would have probably exactly. Rodman would have smacked Steve Kerr.
He probably would have.
What was the first episode Jordan was like he came in the room and he saw they were doing
cocaine,
like, drugs,
Cocaine
and
drugs,
coke and all
and
those stuff, and
girls
he
and
was
all
like,
that.
I didn't drink at the time. I didn't.
I don't like that he did that. He should
yeah,
have
I'm like, nigga, please.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You a team player, nigga. You join them.
Like, do y'all hear Isaiah Thomas said when he played with Rodman, he never saw him take a drink or do anything crazy? I was like, what? That's a good warning to everybody. Maintain yourself, even in your old age.
Madonna turned him out.
Seriously, maintain your son.
Did you watch the Robin 30 for 30? Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I saw not the whole thing. Nah.
I
don't think I finished it.
Can you tell that better?
His childhood was bad though.
That one was crazy.
Yeah, his childhood was terrible. Like with his mom was like abusive and she neglected him.
And he didn't play no ball until he got to college.
Exactly.
What?
He was like, it wasn't.
I think they talked about it a little bit in the documentary. Like he kind of like learned on the fly. He just knew how to go to the ball.
That's it. He just had energy.
7 times he led the league in rebounds. Do you know how sick that is, though? Like at 6'7", 6'8".
My man got it. He has an art, a technique as to how he rebounds. Yo,
he was actually like fast. He wasn't like.
Yeah, he was fast.
He was actually like fast and athletic as a mug, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Country boy. I think
that's who Draymond. Right? That's who Draymond Green thinks he is.
Draymond could never, bro.
When Draymond Green looks in the mirror, he thinks he's
triple single himself.
Nah, Draymond think he's magic. That's what it is.
Yo, man, Draymond. I mean, I love being. I'm all about being confident, but you gotta add some self-awareness into that confidence, yo. Like,
I'm telling you, bro.
Like how we, Benga, we was talking off pod. You was like, bro, you hoop. I'm like, bro, I know I can't do nothing on no offense in basketball. I can't do layups.
That African defense.
You know what I'm saying? Like Draymond is that dude and think he's like an all NBA. You know, you would probably tell this man enough to go at Paul Pierce and tell him he's trash. Like, bro,
he's wild, bro. Draymond is weak.
That still hurts me to the day. The way he talks to Paul Pierce.
He looks back at his career as if like he's retired and he's like done it all already. I'm like, bro, you're still playing.
In fairness, this past season was like the biggest wash for them. I think they were the second.
He got exposed.
You think he's supposed to say he's not the best? You think he's supposed to say he's not the best? Like,
I think you should know your position though.
Good point, Mitty, but still, bro.
And that's why he's technically between a 3 and a 4, and you're nowhere near the top 5, 3 or 4.
I mean, Mitty.
Pascal about to take his spot. How about that? He about to go. Pascal was better than him.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Already better than him.
I kind of lost a little bit of respect for Draymond's goodness when Bradley Beal kind of like manhandled him when they was fighting. I think it may have been like 2 seasons ago.
Who was that? Who you lose respect for?
Bradley Draymond Green, because he was, he plays a tough guy, and then Bradley Beal just like manhandled him. It was bad. I was like, what is happening today? Where is all this?
Real deal, St. Louis, baby.
Yeah. Anywho, let's get into the last beating. Let's get into this last beating here. For those of you guys who aren't aware, there was a viral clip of a father disciplining his son because he came back with unsatisfactory grades. So I'm going to pull up the clip really quickly here, and just go through exactly what his son failed in.
You about to screen share it?
Tell us his grades.
Actually, yes, I can do that, can't I?
Yeah, hopefully y'all don't get a copyright strike or whatever.
Hopefully.
I mean, I don't think they copyright the video.
No, if it goes on YouTube, you mean them? Okay, I see what you're saying. The owners of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let me screen share. Share the screen. You guys can see it, yes?
Hey.
Yeah.
Alright. So, Gentleman was absent in
Damn, bro, you
English.
got a lot of tabs open.
I do. I'm a tab holder, unfortunately. He was absent in English.
Unsatisfactory
in civic education, Christian religious education, unsatisfactory geography. He got credit. I'm not exactly sure how this thing works, but he was absent in math. I don't know what distinction means.
I think distinction sounds good.
That's
to me.
good.
Distinction means you did well, like top of the class.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, and I think credit just means he passed. He got a C or something.
Credit is like C-. You just get it, bro. Just cause.
Yeah.
They're in Zambia. I looked up Lusaka. They're in Zambia.
Zambia, you're right. Okay. So yeah, this is his grades, and this is how much tuition is at the school he attends.
20. So yeah, Pop said he was paying like 21K or something like that.
Yes.
21,000
US dollars.
USD?
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. So essentially, the school that he's sending his son to was pretty much like collegiate in terms of expenses wise.
Private school.
Yeah, private school stuff.
Lusaka.
So, gentlemen, actually, matter of fact, I can even show the video real quick without playing too much of the audio. I'll share it real quick, just so the people can get a glimpse of what we talk about here.
This boy's a failure. That's what it is.
So, as y'all can see within the screen share, and hopefully our social media manager will show a little bit of the clip. You can see him slapping his son, and his wife. The man's wife is recording the video. I don't think he knew because he was livid.
Yeah, I mean he was in the moment.
Yeah, so he was name calling. I'm not gonna lie, he was name calling.
Called him an idiot, I think.
Yeah, and a few other things.
I see a great father here, man.
All right, King Mitty, you want to start us off?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I ain't see nothing in that video that the dad did came off as child abuse to me. I think what people were trying to say. It does seem like he's frustrated and he is hitting his son out of frustration.
Yeah.
But I can understand that. Like, again, if I'm paying that much for you to go to school, most likely you're living a comfortable, well-off life better than most people in that society. So what can I take from you to discipline you to be like, yo, like, listen to what I'm like, get better at school. I'm not like about to be like, oh, if I take your Xbox, you're going to now be like, oh no, I'm going to do better in school. No, I don't think that's going to do shit. So I'm going to lay these paws on you. And I think there's a time and place for everything. Like in the States, we have different means to discipline. His father probably might not have the different means to discipline his son like that, because if a nigga not even going to school, he don't even give a fuck about shit. So I'm all with the ass whooping from the dad.
You go next?
Go ahead.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff I see when I look at this video. All right. I'm gonna say in terms of the beating itself, I don't think it's too over the top. The problem I have with it is what King said. He acknowledged it did look like it was out of his own frustration.
Mm-hmm.
The major problem I have with this is if it almost like, even I guess from my own experiences and stuff like that, like if you should not need to wait till the report card to know if your child is doing good, bad.
It's a boarding school. It's a boarding school.
So like he goes away?
Yeah. He's supposed to live there.
Yeah. So you don't have that.
So you on campus and not showing
up. That's a curve. So okay. So essentially the dad does not have any intervention control, way to relate to the damn. All right. That is hard. Yeah. Okay. Still, I think that a lot of times, coming from the African experience, when our parents are very strict, I think that the parents, and I'm not blaming the parents per se, but what I'm saying is that our parents, our fathers, whatever, can do a little bit more to connect with us, right? To figure out what makes us go, to explain to us the value of the decisions that they make. Too often, what I have seen and experienced is that, like, you wait until the punishment to project and demonstrate and teach and explain the problems that are going on. Like, it shouldn't happen at that time. I think that there could be a better bridge built of a two-way communication. Maybe I came from nothing.
Agree with you.
I'm putting this stock into you. Like, me being a child.
I agree with you. But you got to understand, these dads are probably going through other issues as well. There's a systematic issue that's against all black men anyway out here.
That's
so
true.
They're trying to fight that, and they're still somewhat overcoming and putting food on the table and providing for their family. And now they have to come home to a little snot-nosed little 14, 15-year-old kid who's not doing what he needs to do.
But
come on.
But he became snot-nosed in your household too, though. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you play a part in that spoiledness, that aloofness. That's your child.
You probably was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to, give him what he needs, give him everything so he can do better and take it better than me. Whereas you're spoiling him a little bit.
Yeah.
So now that you seeing it that, damn, I'm spoiling this kid. Let me whoop his ass now.
So, because look, I've been going to Ghana. I've been going to Africa every year for like the past 5-6 years. The kids that look like him are probably fairly spoiled. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that there are bigger issues at play. But what I see is that the better remedy to them can be communicating, can be, you know what I mean? Like, how can I get in with him and figure this issue out better than just like offloading the frustrations? But this kid is a failure. This kid is an idiot. I agree with that too. I would do that. Like, yeah. I'm just saying that that father, the energy you put into that punishment, like, let's see what we can do to bridge the gap. Like how do we really make impact? How do we get in, figure out what makes this kid tick? Understand what I'm going through too, right? Those societal factors. How do we get in there? And if we can do that, I think that we can really like build something really better. So.
Man, I know y'all saw some, and I know DJ Earthquake say he really wanted to talk about it. Do you want me to go or you want to go, bro? I mean, for me, being as though I live in Nigeria for like 8.5 years. I'm a mental health, clinician. I see both of the sides, but however, I feel like in our African culture, especially, our parents' generation, a lot of that grew up in Africa. I feel like coming here, you're exposed to, a different side of the law and things like that. Being back home in Africa, a lot of the laws and the norms don't protect against like abuse. So a lot of times that stuff is normalized. But I think, as you get older, we have to utilize some type of wisdom. Because my thing is, and I just started just to look at the kids that I knew who got whoopings, who did bad. I started to look at like the ones who did bad, who got the most whoopings actually were the worst ones. Like the ones that wasn't getting the whoopings were actually the one that actually ended up producing more. And I felt like, after a while, as a parent, you just have to look like, okay, is this effective? Because I mean, what's the point of it if it's not to bring out the best in your kid? If this approach that you're utilizing, even though it's something that's been utilized for a lot of years, if it's not effective, then maybe you need to consider something else. And my thing that a lot of these parents don't understand is, we see a lot of these hardened individuals, and it stems from that type of, punishment or whatever, even though exactly, like they didn't
watershed traumatic.
Exactly, like they just have this anger or this resentment or just all these emotional baggage deep inside, and a lot of them is due to abuse. Like when this video came out, I seen a lot of African girls come out, and that's what's shocking. I mean, because we know as guys, okay, boys get whoopings like that. I seen a lot of African girls come out, and that was what was shocking for me. And still talking about how they're still dealing with the effects of that type of upbringing.
Damn.
And how it's like, even now in their adulthood, they're not close like that emotionally with their parents. Like, it's still certain blocks that they're unable to like go through with their parents. And like, the parents now, once we get up the age that we're on and people start having kids, the parents, oh, bring your kid, they want grandbabies. But those children still have those trauma that they're dealing with, and they still holding it towards the parents, and the parents just, they can't see it because they're like, yo, I'm trying to make you better. But it's just not a good thing that we've done, and we have to find a different way of getting through to our kids.
Yeah, for sure. Benga or Kojo, did one of y'all want to go? Or...
For me, I just kind of see, again, just growing up in an African household, like, that's not abuse to me, whatever. Like, if we're going to be honest, some of us have gotten worse beatings than that.
For sure. That don't even qualify as a leader. That's just
that's lower level.
That's a family conversation.
Yes, and he took the
like, we even get worse. Like, after we get the beating, they're calling our aunts and uncles like, just what he did. like double embarrassment on top of it.
Come shame you.
Right, like, but like, also you got to look at it from like the parents' views, in the sense of like, this is all they know, right? And if we being honest, Nigerian parents beat you to the fear of the worst path they think you're going to end up. Like, if you getting bad grades, they beating you like they know you're going to end up in a crack house somewhere.
You're going to be in jail.
Like they're beating you because of, not just because they want you to be better, but honestly because of fear. And if we look at it even more closely than that, if we're being honest, after Nigerians beat you and it doesn't work, they send you to Nigeria. Then after they send you to Nigeria, they don't have any other solution. Then they'll just be saying, we'll just be praying for him all the time and stuff like that, because they don't know any other option. You get what I'm saying? And then even with the whole, use the avenue of just talking to them, communicating, a lot of our parents don't know how to communicate effectively.
And that's the parents' fault.
Exactly.
Exactly. They don't know how to communicate. So how are you explaining to your kids when you don't know how to communicate, and they got to kind of work on that too, and that's just kind of how I see it.
See, I get that, but to me, it's like, if your dad is driving 2 taxi like shifts just to put ends on the table, your mom is working overnight just so she could be there in the morning to give y'all food, and you can't seem to see the appreciation that they're putting into you. At that kid's age, that
Mitty,
boy
that's
was
not,
at least like 14.
Mitty, that's not true. Mitty, listen, I've shared my experience with y'all, bro. Okay, that's like Benga said. Our parents, first of all, our parents put these expectations on us. I went into college as an engineering major, bro. My first semester as an engineering major, I think I got a 1.9, my G. And I'm not I'm very studious. I went to tutoring 4 out of 5 days a week. I put in work, I studied. It just wasn't for me.
But
if I was in Nigeria, okay,
you went to class. The nigga wasn't even going to class.
But why do you think? It must be a reason, bro. My parents would have whooped my ass if I was in Nigeria.
Nigga, you can't even go to class for common mathematics.
Yeah,
common reading, English, civics. Those are things you need anyway.
This is like lower level where you skip it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is,
you only imagine what you do
college, but you have your own will. Because in college you can skip whenever any goddamn time we want to. But this is like boarding school where your teacher damn near go to your cubicle or your whatever, your stocking and be like, yo, why did you come to class?
And also, you gotta remember back in Nigeria or like in Africa, you finished high school or secondary school at like 16. So this is a young boy who looks like he's at least 15, 14 that's doing this shit, and he's about to somewhat graduate. My nigga.
Hello, Kojo, please. Shed your wisdom.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I see myself exactly what that boy went through. And in 10th grade, I skipped 21 days in one semester.
Damn.
Yeah, I wasn't going to class either. And my grades were on par with what you saw there. Was terrible. For me, though, and of course, I had the emotional reaction from my parents. But what they did that actually was strategic and genius is they didn't just take that emotional reaction. They then looked at it strategically and say, okay, the way they teach in school and things aren't for him the way he thinks. Let's get him into a trade into the summer. So when I was in 10th grade, I got my first computer certification because it's a different way of teaching. So for me, that redirection helped me a lot. What the beatings didn't do much because it's just the way they taught in schools. It doesn't go with the way my mind works.
Thank you.
With the way my mind works, if I get the proper path, then you can see what I can achieve, which is what I'm doing now. Right? So it's different. Now, the one thing that I'll say about the video, and hopefully we all take something from this, is it's very, very dangerous to slap your boys in the face. It's emasculating. So please, if you have sons, do your thing. I'm not telling you how to raise your children, don't slap them in the face. It emasculates them and they have issues with that when they grow up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. But otherwise, like, I mean, y'all can talk about, we got rough beatings growing up. I don't blame my parents.
Please talk about it.
I don't blame my parents for it because I remember they will probably beat up even worse. So it's just these cycles, you know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, like, how can we change the cycle for our children?
Exactly.
How can we be effective communicators so that we can get the best out of them without having to resort to violence, essentially?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, just taking it from there. But, yeah, so that's the one thing is I saw myself in a boy. I saw what his father did. I'm just hoping that, and also, too, it's trifling that they recorded it and put it on social media.
Exactly.
That's the shaming part. That's the part where they shame. They didn't call his relatives and be like, look at this, what this boy did. They wanted to shame him for everybody on the internet.
Yeah, and it was one of the things where if you want him to excel, how can you now get him to go the right direction versus that, that putting on internet and the modern day stuff? I don't believe in that. You know what I'm saying? So, just continue to pour resources and don't give up on your children because you may not know, you might be working for them one day.
Right. So the way I took it, I think I told Dr. this, I feel two ways about it, right? Because I'm not upset per se at the discipline. I am a little bit upset at the language used towards his son. Because I do remember at times where, like, you know what I'm saying, because he was in his own anger as well, as like, yeah, you're angry at me, but then he's probably angry at himself as a father because he's just like, where did I fail, right? Where did I mess up that didn't connect? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he's thinking that, okay, I'm present, I'm paying expensive. You probably got 3 square meals. You probably got the shoes you want. You probably got the Xbox you want. You probably got the TV.
Electricity all day.
You know what I'm saying? You got AC blasting. You know what I'm saying? So you're not lacking in terms of what I'm providing for you. But why is it that the one thing I need you to do? And that's one thing I always remember when your parents were scolding you in school. The only thing you need to do is excel in your grades because you don't have to go to work. You don't have to pay a bill. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying, do so much extracurricular after work or after school, whatever the case may be. Those are all options, but your main focus is to finish school, and you're not doing that. So to see that, okay, I'm paying $21K and you're absent from some classes, and then you're not passing some classes, and then you're passing some classes, and then on top of that, it's like pretty much my money's gone. And now I have to figure out how I failed, and then now I'm mad at you for I'm mad at seeing you fail and everybody thinking that pretty much, it's the image thing. Like, we all fail. And the reason why it resonated with me a lot is because I do remember at times where I do remember a few of my beatings were more so my father than me per se. Like, I do remember that. and having a conversation, like, you know, every time I've been in Ghana, 3 years now? Every time I go to Ghana, my dad has somebody that wants to come see us or whatever the case may be. The one thing he always says, always says it, he's like, I was hard on Kweku intentionally so that he could be who he is today. And one night I just decided to have a conversation with him, and I told him, I was just like, you do know that you being that hard on me made me resent you.
Like I said.
I told him straight, I was just like,
that's real, bro.
When you were doing all of that, when like I would do everything, like I clean the house or whatever the case may be, and then somebody, like one of my aunts or whatever, say they're taking their kids to the movie. And he'd be like, yeah, you can go. And then maybe like 30 minutes beforehand, he'd be like, nah, you can't go. Just cold turkey, no reason, no nothing, just cold turkey. I'm like, damn, Joe, like that's...
See, that's psychological.
You know what I'm saying? So there was other times too where, you know, all y'all know, like there's been several instances where I didn't fight with people and all of that. I would never get disciplined for my fights. I would always get disciplined for the things I said and for the things that I didn't do to prevent certain situations. So it was almost like backwards to me. So it was like, you want me to defend myself, but then, you know, verbally, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, you know, the whole talking back thing. You know, the kid was silent throughout the whole thing. The kid was,
of course,
entirely
hated.
That was telling, bruh.
Yeah. And me personally, when I was growing up, you know what I'm saying, I always wanted to understand what was happening. Because sometimes I would do something out of pure innocence, unknowingly, you know what I'm saying, not thinking anything of it. Like, for example, I remember this was like my last beating, so I can tell the story. Fight Night came out for PS2, I believe. I'm not sure.
The boxing.
So, me and one of my boys. At the time, I was taking Metro and train. I was taking Metro and train already. You know what I'm saying? So So after school one day, we went to Pentagon City. I think it was either FYE, Best Buy, or GameStop. I don't remember what it was.
A long ride too, man.
I know.
Long ride. It was a long ride, right? So what? School.
Yeah, why gotta go there? PG Plaza was like right down the street.
Greenbelt Mall, bro.
My friend at the time, he was just like, he wanted to go to Pentagon City after school. So I was like, all right, bet, let's go. I ain't thinking nothing of it.
Did too much.
Yeah. So school got out like 2:25. I got home around like 5. And I used to always get home around like 5:30 just because I'd be chilling after school, whatever. Nothing would ever happen. But I guess this one time my dad was looking for me.
Nigga, what you chilling after school till 5 for?
Who got Chiva?
I have to dissect this story.
That's right next to the school.
Okay, check this out, right? So, you know,
you were there with your friends, extracurricular.
After school, right? If you think about it,
I was home after school.
Parkdale High School.
You walk to school?
I walked to school every day. So Parkdale High School is right next to my house. So all I did was I would literally be chilling with everybody else who was just chilling after school, whoever got the after school program. So that was my time to like kind of be like a social butterfly. Because at that time, I didn't really know how to communicate with people because my dad kept me inside. So meeting with other people, I was just like, damn, like this is my little freedom right here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna milk it as much as I can.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It's needed.
So when we went to the mall, we came back. I guess my dad was looking for me for some reason. I guess he really needed me that day. Out of all days, he needed me that day.
You ain't have a cell phone either at the time.
I have a cell phone either.
That wasn't the days, bro.
So I get back, and he was like, "Where'd you go?" I was just like, "Oh, me and my friend." I was honest too, because I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, "Yeah, me and my friend, we went out to the mall or whatever." He said, "Which mall?" I said, "Pentagon City or whatever."
Wrong answer.
He's like, all the way you cross city lines or state lines.
I just got thoroughly beaten, right? And I was just like, damn, Joe. Like, I didn't even know it was gonna be like a big deal. But so what I did was before I played the game, because I felt like, okay, damn, I offended my pops, right? I went to go apologize. I was like, you know, Dad, I'm sorry for not telling y'all I was going here after school, whatever the case may be, yada yada yada. And his response to me was like, almost like, "Oh, okay, it's okay. I know you. I knew you would be responsible." I was like, "So then, why did you beat me?" So it didn't make sense to me. It was just like because you needed me at the time, and I wasn't available. and I'm supposed to be available after school.
That's a curveball. I did not.
So there was a lot of.
But what year was this? What year was this?
This was I was 15. I was 15, so that was 2004.
All right, because I was gonna say if this was during the DC sniper, I might have had a reason to put hands on you too.
All right, that's different.
The sniper got you and shit, and you out here doing recklessness.
No. This was definitely 2004 because I think that's when Fright Night came out. If I'm not mistaken, 2004. Fact check.
Yeah. And DC Sniper happened in 2002, 2003.
It was around that. Sniper also was around that time.
So
Sniper was like old.
Your dad might have been. That was 02, 03 or 02.
I'm talking 04. And that was my last video. But anyways, long story let's go. I personally, I'm not against the beating of your child, but But one thing I noticed is that I didn't get a chance to be heard when I was asking questions because the main thing I want to do is always understand. Y'all already know that. Like I always ask a bunch of questions, not to be nosy, but to be curious, so I can prepare myself for whatever situation happens out there. So
to understand.
So post being my freedom in college, I used to always sit and be the quiet one and sponge up and listen because I was just like I didn't get that opportunity when I was younger. Anytime I had the chance to, have that opportunity, it was taken from me. So essentially, going back to what Kojo said, in a lot of instances, when you talk to your child like that, or you and on top of it being videotaped, you're touching like a dangerous level, especially at his age. Because if he's hitting that puberty age, he's either going to be real reserved and shut off, or he's going to be even more wild. It's like he probably won't get his proper footing. I'm generalizing here. Probably won't get his proper footing until maybe, something in life really hits him. But this is very a very thin line that you don't want to mess up because it can go far left or far right. You don't know what direction.
You never thought about squaring up with your pops?
100%. Of course.
I'm just saying.
The thing is though,
I never thought about it.
In a lot of ways too, I can't fault my parents too much because if you think about it, they came in the prime time of drugs in Maryland, bro. Like Rayful running the streets.
Yeah.
Rayful Edmond.
You name it. The Dipper going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like we talking about like this is Chocolate City before
not Walter White. Rayful Edmond. the real deal.
Shut up.
This is Chocolate City. You know what I'm saying? Like where to this very day, my mom swears down that she doesn't even want she anytime she asks me where I'm about to DJ at, she's like, as long as it's not Southeast, I'm cool. To this day. And imagine even Southeast is starting to look a little better. To this day, bro. She just got comfortable with Northeast. You know what I'm saying? And Northeast is where we came from when we first came. So it's just the mindset of old Africans. But we have to. But again, like we all been saying, you know what I'm saying, we got to find a way to have to break that barrier and talk to our kids. But that communication is key.
What was the response when you asked about the resentment? Or when you explained the resentment thing?
So his response was essentially like, he didn't expect it, but in a lot of ways he felt it because it was just like, why aren't you calling me? You know what I'm saying? Because he's in Ghana, he's doing his business or whatever. He say he was just like, yo, why didn't you call me, whatever. So honestly, my first trip to Ghana was to tell him man to man, face to face, like, hey Joe, I ain't gonna lie to you.
I hate you.
I really
hate you, Daddy.
I really didn't like you.
Admit your asshole.
But what I realized though is that my mind to go to have that conversation, he already in his mind had that plan to have that conversation with me that, I know that some of the things that I did was extra. Like he admitted to it. I was like, what the hell? This is a left hook. I didn't expect this. You know what I'm saying? He knows that he did a lot of things that was extra. But he said that he's grateful that I didn't veer off. And he's grateful that I'm in a position where, like, he needs something, and he knows that I can provide it for him. He knows that all the decisions that I made, even to DJing, something that he thought that I shouldn't even be doing. You know what I'm saying?
So you think if you had told your dad, like if your dad had asked you for certain things and you was like, nah, fuck you, I ain't doing that. I'm not. You don't think he'd resent? Like he'd be like, all right, you know what? I probably deserve that.
Nah, I don't think because I don't think he thinks about it in that light because of he thought that he was doing the best he could, especially with where we were surrounded. Because you got to think, you got to remember too. I lived in Hyattsville, right behind PG Mall. For those who knew what was going on in the '90s, living behind PG Mall and 5 minutes away from DC, 2 minutes from Chillum, you know what time it is.
Chillum Road.
You know what time it is. I don't have to tell you any long story. You know exactly what time it is.
It was sales tax.
You know what I'm saying?
Shoot, my pops, I had one of them talks with him maybe like 6 years. Nah,
he rejected it all, didn't he?
Bro, what? My dad
he was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yo, my dad was like, come on, get lost. He was like, and mind you, this was like, I was still in Largo I didn't come to, I was still in Beltsville. So this was like maybe 8 years ago. I was like 21, 22, thinking I'm grown now, bruh. You know,
I'm paying taxes now.
Exactly. You know, I was still doing security back then. So I was like, man,
I could shoot a gun and everything.
Man, I had one of them Will Smith moments, young. You know what I'm saying? Off the Fresh Prince. You know, I was off my, bruh, you didn't teach me how to tie a tie. You know, I was on that. You know, you like, yeah. Yo, my pops was so dismissive.
No wonder you like Uncle Phil so much.
Yo, he was like, bruh, he was like, do you know what my own father taught me? He was like, do you know the occupation my own father did? He said he had because it was like 12 of them in his family. He's like, you know the sacrifice I had to make for my family? I had to be educated. I took care of everybody. I did this, I did that. He was like, come on, get lost. I was like, do you think I had time? He was like, do you think I had time to do this, to do that, to do that? He was like,
actually father you, bro.
Yo.
Because with our parents, it's literally about the hierarchy of needs. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Pretty much.
Because they were concerned about shelter and food. Now we're concerned about love and belonging and whatnot. And they're like, what? You know what I'm saying? I don't care about that.
Yo, he was so dismissive.
We also have that representation from movies too, because like American movies kind of show a very healthy family environment where they have family dinners. Your dad playing.
I ain't never had a family.
Day, I don't even think my father. I don't think I. So, yeah, America gives you a skewed view. African movies give you the reality of an actual family dynamic, in my opinion. So, that's me though.
Who create amazing stars from the Jacksons, the Mayweathers, the Williams. They're usually like insane with discipline and pushing them, right? Yeah. On the other side, we're talking about, parents taking it easier and being better communicators, but it's one of the things where, and I think those are what Amelia was talking about black fathers and pressures we deal with black men. Like, it's like, you have some fathers like, hey, why are they doing so much? Why are they beating them so much? But they creating diamonds.
But it's in what we look at. Cause yeah, like money wise and career wise, they're creating these geniuses. But look at Michael Jackson. He was so messed up, man. Psychologically, emotionally. Look at Floyd Mayweather now. You know what I'm saying? So these are some of the most greatest. Like Mayweather, some people, he's undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson, probably the greatest entertainer we ever seen.
Richard Williams.
You know what I'm saying?
His daughters hate him.
Exactly. And they Serena then got her Anglo-Saxon place.
And they renounced him, man. After all the work he done did.
She from Compton. You know what I'm saying? Venus and Serena Potts.
They had a movie about their dad coming out too, right?
Yeah, Will Smith played it. Well, I think it's on pause now because of Rona, but
Yeah, so I mean, you make a great point, but it's just crazy how, that driving that those fathers did. It seemed like them kids, in a way, they resent that too, even though they're so great in what they in the fields that they chose.
I think like it's something we learn in economics, right? Like when you grow to a certain economic status, you no longer like you. When we were in college, we used to eat cup noodles. Now that you're older and grown up, no matter how hungry you are, you ain't gonna eat no damn cup noodles. I hope. Going on this.
I eat agege bread.
Okay, that is.
Does Indomie count?
Yes.
Indomie.
Oh, Indomie is a
Indomie always counts.
That goes straight from China.
I know.
Yeah. So I feel like if you are so like what you're saying, the hierarchy of needs that our parents went through, that situation was different. This situation is not suitable to handle human interactions that way. You know what I mean? That's not the way. So like you talk about like push versus pull strategies. Push, go, survive, win, do that. That's how like the African mentality is. Pull is, all right, come here. How do we figure this out together? How do we think through this? I think it's time that we start exploring more of the pull strategies, because this guy is rich. He created that problem in his son to some extent. Not totally. I'm not totally blaming him, but to some extent, he created the environment and the circumstances to make his child feel, I can skip school, I can get away with it, whatever. And think about it. After that embarrassment, will his child, to Femi's point, what he was saying about skipping college, I get it. College is different than what their child is. But is he creating an environment where his child will feel comfortable to say, hey, I like art. I want to explore TV production.
That's fine.
I don't want to do that. How can he even talk to his dad now? You understand what I'm saying?
Fair point.
The confidence. Yo, it's grown men
But
out here.
But the thing is, y'all, you don't see the other part too. We only got a glimpse into that. We only got like a 2-minute glimpse into that father-son dynamic. We don't know if the dad actually had a sit down with the son afterwards and was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I did. What I did was OC, but you really gotta,
Yeah, but I just did they put it on the internet, and I can see that 8 months of semester work right there. So I can just extrapolate based on that.
He quoted a Bible verse.
Yeah, he did.
Spare the rod, spare the child.
Yeah, he definitely did mince his words. He definitely let it be known that I'm not upset at what I did.
I'm just saying.
To me, if you want balance, you got to see both sides. Like, I got beaten like crazy as a kid, but I also got a lot of love from my mom. So to me, it's like,
how are you emotional?
I think I'm emotionally well. I just don't love these hoes.
Would you discipline your children the same way you would discipline?
Not to that extent, because I know there's other ways to do it now. And I think also, to me, I think no one listened to me what I wanted to do creatively. So I think that to me is something I'd be more into, like, all right, let me see what they want to really do.
100%.
I don't need to beat them or like, I can just observe and then talk to them. Mm-hmm. Like, I can do all these things. But I wanted to ask you, Quake, because I have a homeboy who I feel like he's in the same situation as you were in with your pops. Mm-hmm. And I feel like his pops is always doing the same thing where his pops is just trying to, like, I'm trying to make you a man. Like, back in Africa, we was taking guns and shooting like civil wars and all that stuff. So I'm trying, and I told him, I was like, yo, for real, you and your dad probably just should have threw hands back in high school. And you should have let that nigga know, like, yo, you your own man. You ain't gonna be doing this bullshit. So
you talk about like friends giving bad advice.
Of course, it's not the best advice to give somebody, but I have a theory that, like, at some point, you look at animals in the animal kingdom, the lion at some point has to show, like, I can hunt on my own. I can stand up on my own and shit. So, humans, we almost the same way. Like, you got to show your parents that, hey, you know what? I got this. I can take care of myself. And some fathers, they need to see that physicalness to be like, you know what?
By whipping their ass.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that I needed to whip my father's ass, but I think in all honesty, I had to prove my defiance, right? Like for example, when I was like becoming a DJ, they hate both my parents. Like, I mean, I know I highlighted my dad, but my mom beat me for some unnecessary stuff too, but not as much as my dad. Like, if I'm to be just like, they despise the fact that I teach. It wasn't until I gave them each some money that I had saved up from DJing. I'm like, here, this is for you to spend. I didn't spend it. I was like, here, this is for you to spend, not for me to spend.
You give him a bribe.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And they asked me, because, at the time, I was fresh in my IT career. I didn't really have no bread like that. It was like, where you get this money from? I said, DJing. I'm not going to disclose the amount, but it was pretty nice.
Hey, dollars.
It was a nice Christmas gift.
$1,000.
And I think from that point on, because at that time too, none of my parents my parents never heard me DJ, never heard me play. So they were just like, what the hell? How you get all this? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until they both heard me play and they were just like, oh shoot.
Bruh, I'm about to turn 31. The first time I ever got my pop's son was like 2018, bro.
Wow. Anything.
I ain't lying. 2018. It was like Father's Day. I got him some shoes. Or was it last year? It was either one of them. Yeah, I think it was 2018. Giving him a nice money? Shit. After you have shitted on my DJ career? What do you think this is?
But now they know what time it is, and now they tell people to book me, but like, nah, the people that y'all try to give me book me want to do discount. I don't got time.
It's funny. That's probably more effective than fighting them. Like giving them the money, like, hey. You know what I'm saying?
But
you know what I'm saying?
When you're 12 years old, you can't give them money back.
Exactly.
What you gonna do?
You can give him your Lunchables.
You'll be like, I bought this shit.
But yeah, so that's my take, guys. I mean, we almost out of time here. Anybody else got anything else they want to add before we get out of here for the night?
Dog, these UFOs is real. They out here. Son.
I just wanted to say I'm honored and thank you all for having me. I think what you all are doing here is very important and powerful, and you may not see the effects of it. But I was just thinking back, like when I was young and without an older brother, if I had like a place where I can go watch older guys who were in my position and see how they relate, that would have been awesome. So thank you from the younger me who would have been able to take something away from what you're all doing. So keep it up and continue being the great role models you are for young brothers and sisters coming up. So appreciate that.
That's right.
Y'all know what's so crazy too? Before we get out of here, they said that I think I told y'all before we got on the pod, TSA had like 130,000 people within the past month actually like flying more often. So
what?
When they're doing screenings and all of that, but a lot more people are flying now.
For real?
Yeah, they're that.
Where they go? Where they going?
Damn prices.
I think they can only go with the
prices are cheap.
Because most of the borders are closed.
Charisma, this the time to fly one of your
One of your concubines. One of your charisma babes. Find them out.
Blew out.
Show us the reason for the charisma.
Hey, the $10, $20 flyouts, man. King Mitty, what's up, dog?
It's Ramadan, so I'm very
shout out, my brother. Shout out, bro.
Oheni LL.
And plus, I done had a bad experience flying a babe out, so I'm scarred.
You got to share that experience on the pod one of these episodes.
I thought we talked about it before.
You did? Oh yeah.
I could have sworn we talked about it.
Man, I think he did.
Briefly.
Yeah.
When the IG models didn't work out, huh?
I mean, the IG models is in LA, so I don't gotta fly them too far.
This is why any man can have a bad experience. This is why living on the East Coast, you bust them out. You test it with the busting out. Yeah. If the bust out doesn't work, then you learn.
That Greyhound.
Then you learn the cues, you learn the tips. Then you can realize which joints you should fly out, bruh. But the New York bus is $40. It comes within
what's crazy? I've been seeing a lot of people on my
Union Station
making drives, bro. Like they making drives to like different cities, bro.
I would too, for real.
And that
if Maryland was close, I probably would have drove to Maryland already.
That Union Station Megabus.
I can't do the Megabus, bro. I need to be comfortable.
If you have picked up a babe from Union Station before, then you know it's good.
Look, I messed around and took the Megabus one time, man. They got metal folding chairs in that joke.
Yeah, Megabus is terrible.
I gotta drive, man. I'm gonna eat that L. I'm gonna
drive. I'm letting any babe listening to this pod now. If King Mitty flying you out, we flying Spirit, baby.
Hey.
My boy got his belongings robbed on the Megabus, man.
In fairness,
everything.
Spirit has said that they're going to enhance their legroom and all those types.
Yeah, they need to, bro.
I guess
I like my women small, so they don't need legroom.
All right.
You're actually right, bro.
It's all jokes. It's all jokes before somebody take me real serious.
And we in sensitive times, King Mitty.
It's all jokes. It's all for the funny, man. I'm joking.
Anything else before we get out here, gentlemen?
We are entertainers.
Charisma, you have pattern shots.
No, just appreciating y'all for the invite. I listen to y'all. Get the, be here with y'all. Y'all some funny cats, man. Need to let me learn some content from y'all.
I mean, you got all the ladies already, baby.
Exactly. Charisma.
Who got the lady?
Charismatic charisma.
I'm just out here, man. Just trying to live my best life, man. That's all that is.
Oh, we see you. We see you play.
Well, I appreciate you, Charisma and Kojo, for joining us for this conversation. I think, like Kojo said, it's very healthy, and I think, maybe we are aware of the impact, but don't know how deep it goes. So appreciate everybody who's been day one supporting and listening to us and enjoying our think pieces and conversation, especially with our various guests. So much thanks and blessings to you all. Stay safe during this Rona.
Rona.
Peace and blessings. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AfricanSpod. Email us at africanspodcast@gmail.com. You can catch all of our episodes on all podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud.
These go up on YouTube too, right?
Yes, it's going up on YouTube. Nadia has been posting the videos on YouTube. So
last dance, last beat.
And we want to thank Kojo for the battery in the back for us to use YouTube and hopefully the benefits come sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, analytics and super chats is on its way.
Yeah, we just gotta get to that.
That being said, guys, about to end this podcast.
Listeners, because this is a season of us just mixing up people. So listeners out there, if y'all listen heavy, just holler at us, hit us in the DM. We can bring you on.
If you're sensitive.
Yeah, that means Raheem don't hit us up, bro.
What's wrong with Raheem?
He been on before.
Right.
Right.
I think even he was a little reserved when he came on, but big ups to
Rice has two.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We out. Peace and blessings.
Hey, Charisma, send this joint to your babes, man. Make sure they listen, bro.
Of course, bro.
Increase our reach, bro.